Once upon a time, there lived a couple whose names were Ikenna and Adaku. Ikenna and Adaku's love story was a delight to all who heard it. The pair always moved around the village together. You could hardly ever see Ikenna without his wife Adaku close by. Their closeness gained them the nickname Nnu na Mmanụ, which means salt and oil. Even though Ikenna and Adaku's love story was jealous by most, they were also the major subjects in the village. The villagers gossiped about this pair because they had been married for 10 years, but there is still no sign of a baby. This misfortune turned them into subjects of ridicule and gossip for the villagers. On one hand was Ikenna and Adaku's marriage, and on the other hand, Ani and Uduma's marriage. Ani was a wealthy man, known far and wide for his riches and fame. He got married to Uduma, the village beauty. Even though Uduma came from a poor background, her beauty still got her the richest man in the village. A day before Ani's traditional marriage to Uduma, Ani and his people presented 1 cow, 10 bags of money, 5 baskets of beads, 10 baskets of clothes, and 10 kegs of palm wine to Uduma's parents as bride price. These gifts left the villagers in awe, and they wondered how great and extravagant the wedding proper was going to be. The next day, Ani got married to Uduma. Kings and queens, powerful and well-to-do men were all invited to the ceremony. There were lots and lots of food and drinks to go around. The guests were served delicacies from all over the world. Some of them even went back home just to come back to the ceremony with plates and cakes so as to take the remaining food and drinks home to their family members who couldn't make it to the wedding ceremony. Ani and Uduma's marriage was so great that the villagers talked about it for almost 1 year. Shortly after their marriage, Uduma realized that Ani was not who he said he was. He was not just a woman beater, but also a proud cheat. Ani would cheat on Uduma with different women, and whenever Uduma confronts him, he would beat her up and punish her. This went on for so long that even the villagers noticed and gossiped at her back. Uduma paid no attention to the gossips. According to her, it is better to be married to a rich cheat than to be married to a poor faithful man. Due to the distinctive differences between Adaku and Uduma's marriages, their marriages were often discussed and compared by the villagers. 1 year later, Uduma gave birth to a set of twin boys. And not long after, she gave birth to a set of triplets, all of them boys. She named them Ikuku, Nnanna, Ebube, Ibe, and Atete. After the birth of Uduma's boys, Uduma became the envy of women who were yet to conceive in their husband's home. Young women often presented her with gifts, begging her to tell them her fertility secrets. This made Uduma and her sons become not just proud but also arrogant. They were always seen walking aimlessly around the village doing nothing. One fateful day, at the river, Adaku had just finished filling her water pot when a little boy came up to her and offered to help her lift her water pot to her head. Adaku was so happy with the boy that she praised and prayed for him. On seeing this, Uduma, who was also at the river with her last son, Atete, laughed at Adaku and said to her son, "Atete, my son, please never ever help this barren woman, because she might transfer her barrenness to you. And make sure that instead of loving your wife, you give your wife sons and daughters to carry on with your name. What is the purpose of love if it cannot even give you one child?" Atete nodded his head, and both mother and son burst out laughing again. When Adaku got home, she couldn't eat nor sleep. She cried and cried her eyes out, thinking of what Uduma said to her at the river. Her husband Ikenna, who already heard what happened at the river, held her closely and consoled her. That night, when Adaku finally fell asleep, she had a dream. In her dream, she saw a strange woman who introduced herself as Mirioma, the goddess of the river. She told Adaku that her cries has reached her ears and that she, Mirioma, will bless her with a child. 9 months later, Adaku gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Mirizaram, which means the river answered me. Years later, Ani, Uduma's husband, got married to a second wife, Uruego. According to him, Uduma was no longer beautiful. She had stretched marks all over her body, and because of that, he needed a brand new wife who will fit into his status. Uruego was as beautiful as the morning sun, and he met her in one of his frequent travels and got married to her. After some time, Uruego, who could not conceive, sought the help of Apete, a native doctor from her homeland. With his help, Uruego turned Uduma's children against their mother Uduma, and they took her, Uruego, as their mother. Uduma was heartbroken, and she lived a lonely and sad life. One day, as Uduma was carrying a heavy pot of water on her head, a little girl walked up to her and offered to help her carry her water pot. Uduma asked her who she was, and she said that she was the daughter of Adaku, wife of Ikenna. This shocked Uduma, and she felt ashamed of herself. Who could have imagined that the daughter of the same woman who she mocked years ago for being childless would be the one to help her out today? Now, loves, we have come to the end of today's story. What did you learn from our story today? Let's hear it in the comment section. Remember to like and follow us so you can get to hear more stories from us.